What's up, everybody? Welcome to the late afternoon show, and it's actually afternoon now. We normally do it at 5 o'clock. We're doing it at 2 o'clock Pacific, and you can see the light. You gotta wait for that beat to drop. Hey, vibrations. My guest is in the waiting room vibing right now. I can't wait to have him come out. Hey, how's everybody doing? How's everybody doing on this wonderful Tuesday, the Tuesday before Christmas? You see my little Christmas swag? Hey, let's go. Let's go. I want you guys to let me know where you're joining from. Are you stateside? Are you international? Type it in the chat. Where are you joining us from? Are you on Facebook? Are you on LinkedIn? Are you on YouTube? Chat it to us. Let us know. We have a heavy hitter alert, powerhouse alert. We got a big deal on the show today, man. A big deal on the show today. So if you guys have questions, if you've been seeing the promo about Mark, this guy is a force to be reckoned with. All right. So if you have questions about how to scale your brand, if you have questions about how to reach out to influential people, if you have questions about anything, this guy is really a master of a lot. So you guys, if you have your questions, type them in the chat so that we can talk about them on the back end of the show. But I just want to welcome everybody to the late afternoon show. I am super excited. As per usual, we're going to jump into these corny jokes. I'm about to throw them at you. You're about to grab them. You can laugh. You can chuckle. You can roll your eyes, whatever you want to do. But we're going to deliver them. And I'm official today. I got these little cards, trying to be like a little Jilly Fallon. So I got these little cards I can read off, put my little swagnet on there. So let's go. So big news. We got the vaccine. Let's go. We got the vaccine that is going all over the place. It started off in England, in the UK, and it is now making its way across the US. Now there has been, as there always is, some controversy about these vaccines. Some folks are scared, oh my gosh, there's something in it that's going to rewrite the human genome and all these different things. And there maybe they might be valid concerns. For me though, I don't care. I'm fine. Yo, if it can give me a British accent and grow my bald spot back, I am ticket right here. Let's go. So when those vaccines come out, make sure that you do your research, you get set up. And we can't avoid politics. I've been trying to avoid politics for the last few weeks just to be sensitive. And, I am an equal opportunity shade thrower. All right. So all sides can get it. All sides can get it. So latest report. So we all know, Trump has lost his latest round of appeals in the court. Latest round. So it's really limiting his legal options. Unfortunately, he doesn't have a lot of options after this. So he's saying his next move is to bring his appeals to the food court. So the food court is the next one he's going to. And if that doesn't work, he's bringing it to Judge Judy. So the best judges. So look out for the next round of litigation from my man. But on the flip side, President-elect Joe Biden. So this guy is on here. He's making his transition. Oh, you caught that? Meaningful Monday? Woo, meaningful Monday, baby. Swagging it right there. So Joe Biden, of course, the press is trying to get to know him, like, hey, who's our new president? And trying to get to know him personally, right? His brand, his style, and things like that. So they asked him, hey, Joe Biden, are you an iPhone user? And he was like, yeah, I am an iPhone guy. I don't like using those Altoids. And the reporter was like, sir, are you sure you were you trying to say Android? And he's apologetic. He's like, yeah, I'm still trying to get used to this technology. In fact, I'm about to start making my first TikTok video. Like, nah, this dude is not there. He's not. He is not up for it yet. So, and as per tradition, we got to do this dad joke. We can't go another late afternoon show without this dad. You see the pictures up there. Yeah, you see my clan. So we got to deliver this dad joke. So what do you get when you cross the latest iPhone with a Christmas tree? I'll let you type it in the chat. If you guys are on here, you're listening to this now, or you're listening to this on the rebroadcast, I want you to give you some time. What do you get when you cross the latest iPhone with a Christmas tree? What do you get? a pineapple. Come on, you don't get it? Pine, Christmas tree, apple, iPhone. No, it's okay. You guys will catch up. So, guys, we are excited. We got Mike Metry that is on the line. He is going to join us and talk about what he is up to. We're going to throw up our vibe music to get this guy on here. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're on, smash that applause button. Let's go. Welcome our guest, Mark Metry, in the house. Hey.
Yo, what's up, man? Yo, my name is Mark, by the way, too. It's not Mike. But dude, this is literally the best show I've ever been on. I've never been on a show like this, and I love it, and I love everything, man. I'm so
You're making me blush. You're making me blush, man.
Dude, what music? No, I'm just kidding.
Bro, this is, for anybody that doesn't know, go check out Tuxedo. They are on all platforms. They are the most vibiest, coolest, kind of chillest vibes out there. So I listen to them all the time. It's kind of my theme music because we want good vibrations on the late afternoon show. We got good vibes this entire time. So Mark, man, thank you. How to pronounce your last name? Is it Metry? Metry? I want to say it right.
It's the first one. It's Metry. It's like geometry, but without the geo. Metry.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Metry. So, my man, we are excited to have you. You have a very big bio. And normally what I try to do is I try to consolidate and package and throw it back out in a nice way. But, dude, yours is, you got a whole website. You got a whole Amazon top 100. You got a whole, like, dude. If you were to put, let's just say you're an entrepreneur, man. So you see me, you see this guy, he got this nice little vest on, got this nice little thing. It's like, oh, this guy looks like money. Let me pitch him really quick. 30-second elevator pitch. Tell me who you are and what you're doing, man.
So, dude, the best way I found to describe it is every single thing that I do today for a living that people know me for, that I get paid for, is like literally the opposite of what I wanted to do in my life. And I didn't want anybody to know my name, my story, what I talk about, any of these things. And today I like literally just talk about it. And like that ability today in 2020 is the most beautiful thing, man. And so, yeah, I mean, like I host a podcast. My business helps people like start podcasts, and just like the amount of different leaders and different movers and shakers around the world that have been able to start podcasts and really build these movements across a wide variety of issues, from like healthcare to like human trafficking to a big one, mental health. It's amazing, man. And so I'm so grateful that I get to do that every day, man. And then thank you for inviting me on your live again, dude.
It's you are like a living testament of the blessing that we have in living in this day and age. Like, if you look back 20 years, if you look back maybe even 15 years, like you don't have the level of access that you have to the people that you have today, from Twitter to Facebook to podcasts to Instagram to Medium to, Reddit, like you have all these different ways that you can connect to literally anybody. Like, you can at President Trump, you can at Joe Biden, you can at Kamala, and they might respond. Like, you wouldn't ever even dream, to do that. And what I love about you is that you have, brought that, right? So access to some of the brightest minds, in the game. And, so talk to us a little bit about that, about like, how did you find these folks? How did you connect? What did that look like for you, man?
Well, dude, so I'm 23 right now. And I remember when I was in high school, in 2008, something, or maybe middle school, I don't even remember. But so my parents, they came to this country from Egypt. Okay. And I remember in 2008, 2009, Egypt was going through like a whole like revolution. Many other Middle Eastern countries were. And I remember I was talking to my cousin on the phone one day, and he tells me, like if you go in the street, there's a lot of things that's like destroyed. There's all this stuff, but there's a sign that people are putting up like in graffiti. And basically what it was like a blue circle with a white F in the middle for Facebook. And so I remember seeing this in like 2008, 2009. And I'm like, like, whoa, hold up a minute here. Like, I guess like this like random social media thing, this internet stuff, I guess it's not all about, TikToks and all these like, classic, whatever, jokes and like these silly purposes. But like, people just like overthrew their government by basically using social media and really just connecting because they have access. And so ever since then, man, I've just like been using the internet ever since when I was like that young. I would like make websites, I'd make apps, I'd do all this kind of stuff. And then it's led me to doing today what I do of like what I think is the most important thing of like, for me and my story, like 5 years ago, I was suicidal, I was depressed, I was obese, I was a successful entrepreneur at a young age. I was making like six figures, but yet I saw my mental health just go down and spiral. And so for me, the most important thing that I got to do every day that is integrated now in my business and helps us is just raising more awareness for mental health and like legitimate strategies and things that people can do on a regular basis that I never knew growing up and coming from my culture where you shouldn't talk about that. And so just doing that, man, I've been able to pull in all kinds of different leaders from billionaires to people like in the government to all to athletes to all kinds of brilliant people and just have honest conversations about mental health. And so if you're charging with that kind of like a movement and you understand a little bit about how the internet works, like I kind of began to understand and not really understand, but I just began to take it seriously. Then you can unlock an entire crazy network of people. Like, dude, I'm 23. I'm just like some kid, and I'm connected with like so many amazing people. And turn that totally changed my life, man. And so it's amazing.
So, like, my next question to you, man, because I always want to get as practical as possible, right? It's like, hey, if we can
100%.
give out some secrets and give out some tidbits to folks, because 2020 has been like, folks, if you aren't taking advantage of building your brand this year, like, bro, like that was like you had the time, you had the time. That's what it was, and everybody was home, everybody was on the computer, everybody was online. So like that is the biggest thing. So I love what you talked about as far as having a theme, right? You talked about mental health, like you were struggling through something, and in that discovery, you kind of like figured out your niche and you kind of use that as your platform. And Sharon is in the chat talking about, yes, mental health is so important. It is so important, especially in this day and age that, folks are, there's so much digital, there's not as much, one-on-one contact, especially in a pandemic and fires and all that stuff. So it's really, really important. But tell me, give us, for folks that are trying to build their brand and they look at connecting with influencers, right? They want to connect with folks that they can latch on to kind of get to the next level or bring more eyeballs to what they're doing. What advice would you give on connect? Because you connected with some pretty major folks. What advice would you give to folks that want to connect with folks at that level?
Yeah. So at the end of the day, first off, you have to understand the reality of human nature. And the truth is that when we're all connected to all these devices, especially people who have a big network, are very influential. If you're some random person that's reaching out to them and you don't have a brand, you have nothing to show for yourself, unless you basically have money, like just being real, it's going to be, a little bit more difficult. And so at the end of the day, you have to find like some legitimate incentive. And I'm not just talking about money, but what I'm talking about is like, for me, one of the biggest things that I did was I started a podcast. And that was able to give me some leverage, like same exact thing that you're doing. I mean, in terms of doing this live stream, because, people who are out there doing stuff, they're busy and they want to do things that only contribute to their mission, really, unless you're like their family or unless you're paying them money. And so the reality is that you have to find a way, even if you are like a small fish, to help them in some sort of a way. And so, practically, like I said, podcast. The biggest thing too that I did was I remember in 2017 jumping on LinkedIn, and dude, I just took that platform super seriously. I really built it, and off LinkedIn and podcasting, just taking both of those platforms seriously and representing myself, starting to build my brand. That is probably like one of the best sort of like combos that I feel like I found that has completely been able to revolutionize my network. And so those are like the two biggest things I would say.
I love that. So for folks that are listening, and trying to figure out, how do I build? How do I connect with folks? How do I expand, my thing? What I'm hearing from somebody who has done it is you find your thing, right? Mental health, his own personal experience, those are like the why, right? And then you find the mediums, the platforms. So podcasting, finding the platform like LinkedIn and taking them seriously, really doubling down, learning what you need to learn, going through it, and then you use that to connect with folks. But dude,
Yeah.
is it too late? Like, we're already in 2020. All these LinkedIn influencers that came in 2017 and 2018, they're blowing up. Podcasting is like everybody has a. Is it too late? Like, can folks still like take advantage of these platforms and do stuff?
So, dude, this is the best way that I think about it. So right now, I think the world population is something like 7.5 billion. It's nearing towards 8 billion, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
And when you look at how many people are on the internet, I think there's something like 3.5 billion, 4 billion, maybe 4.5. I think even less than that of those people on the internet. And so what you're going to see basically happen in 2020, 2025, 2030, 2035, 2040, you're going to see literally billions and billions of more people get on the internet. And the reality is that one of the biggest issues that a lot of us can make, like before we go into this world or like when we're starting off, is that, we think that we have to have our thing totally nailed down. We have to feel like we have to get our style totally down. Yeah. And the reality is that this is a very iterative process. And I guarantee you most of the people today who have online followings that are successful, we're doing that in some way for like minimum 10 years. And so it takes a while for you to make your thing. And the biggest thing is we look at people who are like at the top of our industry, like someone, for example, I don't know, Gary Vee, for example.
Yeah.
And, within that sort of like influencer, Gary, like the people that listen to Gary Vee, they listen to him because of his personality. They listen to him because of his style. They listen to him because he's a load of information. They listen to him for a variety of reasons. But the reality is that not everyone vibes with Gary Vee. And the reality is that, for no fault of his own, for good or bad reasons, and the same way that someone wouldn't vibe with me or someone wouldn't vibe with you. Yeah. The reality is that people are going to be continuously searching for mentors, educators, and there's still not enough out there. But if you're in this world, it may seem like you're super saturated, and like this is like an effect. It's called I don't know what it's called. I think it's called the bubble effect. And it's like if you are in an industry or if you're studying something and you're like looking at all the details, you're researching, and you do that for a while, you're then going to start believing that everyone in the world knows what you know. When in reality, if you step outside of your zone, you go to the supermarket and you talk to someone, they're gonna be, what are you talking about? It's like the grand scheme of all of this social media, LinkedIn, podcasting game. I mean, I'm sure the tools will change over time, and I've been on them for a while. And so they're always gonna evolve, but I think they'll always be there, and there will always be room for people at the top. Yeah. And so that's the biggest thing that I'll keep in mind, if that makes sense.
Oh, dude, that made perfect sense. Elia, what's up? Elia Francis. She is a amazing contact, LinkedIn coach, counselor out of Canada. We had her on the show a little while ago. Elia, what's up? Thanks for joining us. Sharon, thanks for joining us. Anne Marie, thanks for joining us. Dean, what's up? Thanks for joining us. Dude, what I'm hearing from you, and I love it, is because I am guilty of the same thing. I'm 100% guilty of the same thing. I don't think folks are as future focused as they should be, right? They're kind of judging their success on, that's why I asked the question, right? It's like, all right, it's 2020 now. I don't have 100,000 followers or 1 million likes or all these things based on, I literally just started this year. Like I just started January of this year, like building this whole meaningful work thing. But to your point, like when you think about trends, when you think about the future, you start thinking about the where people are going to be, what new markets are going to open up, right? What new trends are going to be, and how do you position yourself to be prepared to play in that game? that's kind of like where, and Gary Vee talks about it all the time. It's about patience. Like, you just grind, do the work. And, so it just takes one piece of content. It takes one podcast. It takes one, picture or whatever it is to translate to somebody. It might not even be in our generation. It'd be my son. Like, my son's 4 years old. When he's coming into the internet, right, in the next 10 years or whatever, and, the content that's relevant then, that might be, where it takes off and blows up. We just got to be consistent, up until the time.
Yeah, man. And the biggest thing too is like, I personally, like, I've been a guest on maybe, I don't know, like 250 podcasts now. And dude, I've never, like, you're in top 5 most unique podcasts I've ever been on. And so, dude, the reality is that if you continue to do what you're doing, dude, you're going to blow up 100%. And the reality is that, yeah, it is that one piece of content that blows up, but also it's like, sometimes, like, dude, you just gotta, sometimes it's like, you gotta put in the work for like 5 years, and then all of a sudden everyone discovers you. And that's like what it's all about, man. And like, I remember when I was starting off on my journey, I would look up at all these people like Gary Vee and Tim Ferriss and all these people, and it's like, dude, they've literally been grinding for like 15 years, like in this, or they've been grinding in a different way. And so that's the biggest thing to keep in mind. And then also, like, just keep in mind that there are people out there who have 10 million followers and they're depressed. And so, like, everyone's got a pro and a con. Exactly. And there's people out there who have like 10 million followers, and they're like, yo, my videos aren't getting enough likes, and that makes them depressed. Like, I know a lot of them, and I'm not trying to belittle them or anything, but it's a very real problem for sure. And so the reality is that it's a lot of work, and it's a lot of work to even sustain that and even be at that level. But at the end of the day, I think that what the most important thing is that you're you, right? And I think a lot of people, like, they end up doing these things that they feel like are like the hot trend in the moment. They do these things and like they try to like go viral, even though it's not really true to themselves. But I think the most important thing is if you're able to be true to yourself and you're authentic and you actually enjoy what you're doing, then you're not going to mind doing this for like the next 5 years without, crazy, life-changing results yet. And then you do get to that level. And then you also think, like, at the same time, how many people are out there who grind for like a year and a half, 2 years, and then they quit when like 6 months later or a year later, obviously things happen in life. You can never judge people, but then they would have blown up. And so that's the biggest thing that I keep in mind. It's like, as long as I'm doing me and I actually enjoy what I'm doing and I'm authentic and I feel like it's important and meaningful, like, in this world, then I'm going to keep doing it. I don't even care about like the results. For me, it's like more of like an intrinsic thing for the most part. So I think it's like pulling and kind of like keeping all those perspectives in mind.
Oh, dude, 100%. And what gives you energy? Like, for me, like, I look forward to Tuesdays so much. Like, I'm in the middle of my day right now. Like, if my coworkers and managers are watching, like, I gotta go to, like, right after this. I look forward to Tuesdays because this stuff gives me energy. Like, having conversations, learning, if you haven't known, I like the camera, I like performing, I like all that stuff. So, like, when I get a chance to present and do things like this, it gives me so much joy. And even on the days where it's like, oh, where were all the viewers? Like, where were all the likes? Or where it was like, at least I had the conversation, and and I was able to get that energy out. I was able to learn from folks. Dude, if you don't mind, can you read Elia's comment, Mark? The big
I was just reading it right now, actually. That's funny you say that. Mark told the biggest truth. Outside of social media, we are the same unknown person. Social media makes our work steps more visible, keeping us accountable in the spotlight. But in the end, what you do outside the screen is what matters. And that's the truth. And like, the reality is that we're now living in like this really weird world of 2020 where like these worlds are both colliding. They're both merging. And so I think it's like a really interesting like reality that I don't think any of us expected. I think we probably expected it in the future, but because of COVID, I feel like it's accelerated that and different, people who are quarantined and whatnot. And so, yeah, it's super interesting, but I think this is going to be one of the biggest like conversations moving forward of like, how do we bridge virtual and then our real life and kind of do that in an authentic way. And I would even say too, is that what I'm talking about is a skill. Like, I don't think the ability to know how to authentically communicate yourself, I don't think that's natural. And I mean online. And I think there's a lot of people out there who are very authentic in real life sometimes.
Yeah.
But they struggle with like using this whole digital social media stuff.
Yeah.
And it's a real skill, I think. And so it's going to be super interesting to see like how this conversation unfolds, because it's super important for like our psychology, our mental health, for politics, for conversations, for, you know what I mean? And so it's going to be super interesting to see what happens.
100%. You guys heard it here. If anybody's looking for a new business idea or consulting idea, translating your ability to storytell and connect in real life on digital, that's a world unto its own. So if you're looking for something to do, don't say we didn't give you any ideas. Just send us the royalty checks when you're done.
Seriously. I was thinking about that right before this. I'm not even joking. Right before this, when you were dancing, I was literally thinking like the next $1 billion idea is someone who invents like some crazy AI that knows how to flawlessly translate technology, not social skills, but social media skills into just like, hey, do this about that. And like take, you know what I mean? And so I don't know what that'll look like, but that's it.
Yeah. Ooh, see? All right. We have a timestamp on December 15th. It was said here first. So if anything comes out of this, you know where it started. Dude, I'm going to ask you a random question. Folks, if you guys have questions for Mark, please type them in the chat. We want this to be engaging. We thank you so much for your comments, for your applause. Mark, what was the last thing that made you laugh until your stomach hurt?
Oh my God. The last thing that made me laugh until my stomach hurt was over the weekend. I was visiting my niece, who's like a toddler. She's like a year and 3 months old. And
Dude, I'm laughing watching you laugh, bro.
So we're at a restaurant, right? And we're in the waiting room, and she's sitting in the carriage. And my sister, her mom, she gives her like the milk bottle. Yeah. And she starts drinking it, and she's like drinking it, she's like looking around. And my dad, who, you know, is like a 60, like 3-year-old guy, is standing right next to her. And she is drinking the milk in one hand, and the other hand, she's got her hand out. And next thing you know, she just starts slapping my dad's butt. And she's just like doing it. And we're all waiting, and there's like people behind us. And then I'm just started dying of laughter. And my niece is just like slapping. My dad's like trying to act calm. And we're all just like dying. And she's just like slapping, and she's like drinking her milk. It's the funniest thing that I've literally ever seen in my entire life.
Yo, kids don't care, bro. Like they're just gonna live their best life. Like it doesn't matter who or what. Anybody can get it. Anybody can get these butts back. What? Who wants it? Who wants it?
She did it for like 5 minutes, man. And that's I love kids. Literally like maybe realistically like 2 minutes. 2 minutes realistically. Yeah. And we're just like standing around there. It's crowded. We can't move, social distancing, all this stuff. Yeah. And my dad's just standing there. He's just taking it. I guess it's so funny. It's dying.
What can you do? What can you do? All right, man. So we're coming up to the bottom of our time. I want to ask you one question that we like to ask. So I'm trying to build this brand around, meaningful work and just the exploration of meaningful work. I don't tout myself as an expert or have it all figured out, but I want to document my journey on figuring out what is meaningful work and how do you apply it practically, whether you're an employee, you are an entrepreneur, or simply just an enthusiast, right? About something. What is meaningful work? How do you apply its principles to the activities that you do? So what if I were to ask you, how would you personally define meaningful work?
Yeah, so I would define it by a friend of mine who's like a CEO of like a multi-$100 million company, very successful, has like hundreds of employees. He told me the biggest thing that is so important is that people aren't being real with themselves. And what he means is like, I'm not trying to like call anybody out or make fun of people. Could do whatever they want, but there's a lot of people out there who like work at these startups, work at these companies, and like that's what they're doing, and their work doesn't necessarily make the world a better place. Maybe it does a little bit. And I feel like there's just a lot of slogans. There's just like a lot of like fake values of like, yo, we're changing the world. And I feel like deep down, people know that's either real or not. And so what my friend told me is like, if you want to do purposeful, meaningful work in the world, it has to be legitimately purposeful in the world. It has to genuinely like improve the lives of people based on your definition, based on your standards.
Yeah.
Or your company has to be directly contributing towards a meaningful cause, has some sort of meaning that, you know, the employees can volunteer or do something that is actually legitimate and just be real with ourselves. And so I think that's the biggest thing. And honestly, for me, like I remember like going through college and like taking all these classes, and I would literally be in these classrooms and I would literally be like, I'm not doing anything useful with my life. Or I would be interning at some company and I would like literally feel like my skin was like rotting away. And I just find out that I'm just someone who's super sensitive. Like if I'm not doing meaningful work, I'm extremely depressed. And so the reality is that you have to be real with yourself. And once you are real with yourself, then you find out an answer. Then you're like, okay, I can keep doing this. Maybe I can, you know, come up with some sort of initiative at my company if this isn't already happening. You know, trying to get creative about it and trying to actually take it seriously and find some meaningful way to do it. Yeah. And then I think like number two is like also realizing like if you find yourself not doing purposeful work and your company is not about that, you know, and that's fine. But you are that kind of person, then you need to start developing some kind of a plan to join a company or do your own thing where you can be meaningful and purposeful. Because the reality is that, you know, there's a lot of people who are out there who unfortunately don't do this, and maybe they find meaning in other areas of their lives. But I know personally for me, like my work is a big part of my life. And I know for me, it has to be kind of aligned with what I do. And then the other thing that I'd say real quick to that is I would just say make sure you're taking care of your mental health and yourself, because I've met a lot of people, and myself included, where I've been in a situation where the work that I was doing was actually meaningful, but I wasn't able to feel it because I had my sort of own issues here. And maybe there are issues with like a toxic workplace, the boss, something like that. But I think that's also a really important thing, because I think there's people out there who are doing meaningful work, but they're also struggling in a lot of different ways as well, on the flip side, kind of more internally. And so I think it's about being honest with yourself and like the real world of like what you're actually doing, but then also reflecting within yourself and making sure that you're good as well. And you're actually like present in your life. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of us who are living our lives. We could actually be doing meaningful work, but we're not present actually doing it. Our brain is somewhere else. We're thinking about something else. And the next thing we know, it's like the end of the day and we're not even in touch with what we're doing, even though we're doing it. And so that's the biggest thing that I would say, if that made sense.
Dude, the favorite thing that I heard in what you just said that I haven't heard before, this is the first time I've heard it, and I think it's very significant, is that your personal situation, like your mentality, your thoughts, perceptions, or whatever about yourself can block the meaningful work that you're doing. I've never heard that before. Like if you are in a state of accepting lies about yourself, or scared about the future, or worried about so many different things, like that's a cloud, that's a wall that blocks the meaningful work that you may be doing. And so it's not just about, so I love that perspective that it's, yes, you got to look externally and say, hey, what are my activities contributing to, right? What is my organization actually contributing to? And am I actually involved in that type of stuff? But also looking inside and saying, if I am I seeing it? Like, am I actually, have the lens to see that? And that's where, again, that mental health conversation is so important. Dude, we have gone over time, but I want to take this question. Ilya has a really good question. If you can ring us out with this, I'd like to bring my message to TED. What would you recommend?
You'd like to bring your message to TED. What would you recommend? Like a TED Talk?
Yeah.
I assume that's what you mean?
TEDx.
Yes. I mean, so I remember for my TEDx, I just got invited because I just posted a video on LinkedIn.
Okay.
And so I think I don't know anything about you, Ilya. Maybe we can connect or something. But I think the most important thing is that, I think it's about representing yourself, putting what you want to be hired or brought on for out there. And then I mean, there's always like TEDx. I think there's like virtual events now, and maybe just like search for that, apply for it. I'm not sure, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I know I've applied to a few, and one of the big things that they have shared just in the coaching for it, if you aren't just kind of invited to say, hey, come and chat, is the idea. Like the originally, so doing a lot of research on, hey, this is what I want to talk about. So if I want to talk about, let's just say, example, LinkedIn coaching, that's the topic. Your idea has to be so crispy, like so palpable, and unique. And be able to communicate in a way that's not out there, because that's what they're looking for, is those sticky ideas. So you iterate, send it out, like research, and really fine tune it to something that is crazily, distinctly, different. I think is a first step. And then just being able to articulate it in a short, concise way, and then find local things. Like they have universities that have TEDx, conferences, and build relationships with the folks that, that help manage those things. And then just be consistent, right? It's not just one application. You just kind of keep going out there and putting yourself out there, similar to what you were talking about, Mark, how you represent yourself. They see content and they're able to do research on social media and find out what you're talking about. I think that lends itself to finding success in that area. Thank you so much for your question, Ilya. Thank you so much I love the interaction, Sharon and Ilya, as far as, supporting each other. Storytelling breaks up the presentation. Yes, and it injects humor. If you're able to storytell, I think that is where I said storytelling is a skill everybody should develop in 2021. Absolutely. Truth, preach, gospel, church. So I think that is good. So, dude, we're going to close out. How can folks find you? Dude,
best place is my website, Mark Metry, MarkMetry.com. People can check out my podcast. I'm an author of a book called Screw Being Shy. People can check it out. Add me on LinkedIn. Follow me on Twitter. Tweet at me. Hit me up. Email me. And I'll see you guys on the inside. Tim, dude, I appreciate you, bro. You're crushing it, man. I can't wait to be back on your show in a few years.
Bro, we're going to be back. Guys, it's been the late afternoon show. We're going to vibe out. Thank you so much for joining us. Our season finale is next week. We got one more powerhouse guest next week, and we're going to wrap up season 1 of the late afternoon show and jumping on next year for season 2. It's going to be crazy. You ain't ready for season 2. Y'all ain't ready for season 2. So we out. Hey, my